There were nearly 2 million more people unemployed in the first quarter of this year than there were in the first quarter of 2020, just before the COVID-19 pandemic began to take a heavy toll on Brazil and social distancing measures were put in place. The numbers showing a record 14.7% unemployment are the highest since the country's official statistics bureau, IBGE, began its quarterly tracking in 2012. The spike follows a small reduction in unemployment in the second half of last year, when the first wave of COVID-19 seemed to subside and some economic activity resumed. But figures deteriorated again this year after the second wave hit the country hard and COVID-19 restrictions were again hardened. Compared to the last quarter of 2020, there were almost 900,000 additional people looking for jobs through March of this year. The problem is felt all over the country, but the situation is at its worst in Brazil's poorest regions.
Essa taxa, ela também foi recorde em 12 unidades da federação.
We have seen a record unemployment rate in 12 Brazilian states. The North and Northeastern regions showed the highest rates.
The situation is even worse for Brazilian women, with an unemployment rate of 17.9%. The survey also identified 6 million so-called discouraged people who are not counted at all because they've given up looking for jobs. And according to IBGE, there were 34 million people, almost 40% of the employed population, working in the informal economy, like street sellers, for example. Last year, Brazil's GDP contracted by 4.1%, and analysts say the drop would be even bigger if it were not for the government's pandemic emergency grants. For this year, the average of projections made by financial institutions, according to data collected by the country's central bank, project growth of 3.5%. But analysts warn the state of the pandemic in Brazil still make all predictions highly uncertain. Paulo Cabral, CGTN, São Paulo.